Well, I have no idea what we are going to talk about today. I mean, this has been probably the most whirlwind last couple of weeks of a presidency that I can recall. And I've been through a few of them, right? Where are we and what are we going to talk about tonight? We are in a seemingly unprecedented Washington, D.C. landscape. I don't recall us having been here before, but I'm sure historians would be able to say that we are. We're seeing people doing the unexpected and the completely unimaginable. I came to my understanding of what a Republican was when Ronald Reagan was president. And not that I was paying that much attention to it at that time, but that sort of set a standard for how things are done in the US for me. So things now are quite a bit different. And does it really matter? Well, it kind of does. We've got high stakes here, and like I said, people doing the unimaginable and the unexpected, and we find ourselves in interesting times. I mean, all these characters that we have right now, they're playing out the best political dramas that that we can imagine. And instead of talking so much about Trump, because he's the one been making the headlines, I want to go a little bit deeper on what's going on, or my take on what's going on. My question is, what's up in the US Senate? Have the Republicans gone insane? I don't even recognize this. So, where are we as I'm taping this? We are coming to the end of the full second week of Trump's second term. He was inaugurated on January 20th, and we're not even into February yet, and all hell has broken loose. But it's actually been going on longer than before he was inaugurated. So think back just a few short weeks ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, all these nominees for the heads of government, at least for the executive branch, were coming out. These crazy names like Matt Gaetz and Pete Hegseth, who we only know from TV, and who, while he did do his service, did not appear to have any major leadership role. And there's been a lot of criticisms of his tenure running some organizations for vets. And then all the personal dramas. I mean, family members coming out and saying how he shouldn't have this job, putting themselves on the line for that. And so we'll come back to Pete Hegseth in a minute, because I don't want to digress. I mean, where could I digress to? There's so many options, right? This. It's just chaos. So like I said, it's been going on for a few weeks. These names have been coming up: Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, RFK Jr. I mean, RFK Jr., he's been around a while. That's a name I've heard for a while. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel are not of, let's say, the vintage of myself. They're from a different generation. And but you know, I've watched the news. I've, even before this, had an idea of who they were. So we're into this several weeks, and that's for the incoming Trump administration. But let's focus on the US Senate. They convened just a little under a month ago on January 3rd, and I believe there are 4 new Republican members and 3 new Democrat members. So that's new. It's new, and what's also new is they're in control now. So before that, Senator Schumer from New York, he was in control as the majority leader. And now I believe, I could be wrong on that, maybe Mitch McConnell was. But Mitch McConnell is a name that I've known for a long time. He's certainly been an integral part of all the politics that I've followed. And he gets a bad rap, and you're not going to hear me say anything bad about Mitch McConnell. I know he's made mistakes like anybody else can, but I actually have a lot of respect for Mitch McConnell. He's held the line on a lot of things that Republicans, I guess up until the recent era, thought were important. But he's tangled with Mr. Trump in the past. So Mitch McConnell is not in charge anymore. He decided to step down from his leadership role. And from what I understand, because I have no inside information, I can watch all the same news sources that you all watch and maybe different podcasts than you watch, but he's been grooming Senator John Thune from South Dakota for quite some time to be the next majority leader. And there was a vote on that. But I believe John Thune is the one who Mitch McConnell has probably directed his mentorship towards through the years. And I can see why that would be. John Thune seems like a very deliberate, serious person. He's from South Dakota. No doubt he's in a safe seat. People in safe seats are the ones that make the best leaders for any of the parties, because there's not going to be a lot of upset in the changes there. So he could probably keep running in South Dakota for another 20 years and win. But the thing is, on the American stage, since Mitch McConnell has had the spotlight on him, not a lot of people know what John Thune is about. So from what I understand, he is a conservative. I have seen him talk. Like I said, he does seem very deliberate, and he seems like a very serious person. And I'm sure he does not take the leadership lightly. But as a casual observer, and the rest of Americans who don't follow insider U.S. Senate politics, we really may not know a lot about him, what his aims are, what he's trying to accomplish. Is he a puppet for Donald Trump? Is he just there to do Donald Trump's bidding? I wouldn't have thought so. Of the things that I knew about him, I would not have thought that was the case. But recently, it's kind of started looking like that. And so what we've seen is him be challenged in that role by what the Trump administration has been throwing out as nominees for these various posts. And I've gone through some of the more controversial names. Matt Gaetz, who's now removed himself from it. Probably Mr. Trump asked him to, but who knows? It doesn't matter. He's gone. Mr. Hegseth, Miss Gabbard, RFK Jr., and Kash Patel. Those are some of the ones that are being bandied about it in the news as extremely controversial. These are people who have not had large leadership positions before, but the question about them is, do they owe their fealty to Trump, and they would not maintain their own personal, professional judgment when they are acting and pursuing the role that they're seeking now. So I think it's probably without question that most people know these are not the most talented, the most experienced, and the most dynamic people for some of the most important roles in the country. Head of the health of the country, head of our national secrets, head of our military, and head of our law enforcement. a lot of things could go wrong in those departments that would affect our lives and the lives of people on the national stage. So these are not unimportant positions. And the fact that they don't have a lot of experience, but they're being put up and nominated for this. Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked hard to get a position or to get a contract or to get something really important, and you find out that somebody who was not as qualified, not as knowledgeable, not as well funded, whatever the criteria it was for you to be the best person trying to get what you're trying to attain, and then you see somebody who's basically a crony who's being put in there for other reasons, not based on their merit. Well, you know how that feels. It feels pretty bad, and it can result in several of your weekends of your life just hanging out on the couch, eating too many peanuts and drinking too many Diet Cokes or drinking something else. It doesn't feel good, and you wonder, what is life all about? Why am I working so hard? So that's kind of what's going on. So I'd say it was an insult to people who know how to do these jobs probably better. And what if we learned from the Senate? We've learned that so far, at least at the time I'm making this video, none of the Republicans are going to object, except for Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, who's known to be a moderate objector, Susan Collins of Maine, ditto, and Mitch McConnell, who's not a moderate, but who is a conservative, but it was unknown whether he would even vote against Pete Hegseth, and a week ago, he decided to do it. But I kind of wonder, was he allowed to do it? Because if just one more person had voted against Pete Hegseth, that nomination would have gone down in flames. But he did it, and I saw him and John Thune talking down there on the Senate floor while the votes were being cast. It was very casual. Of course, all of those people there are going to have their poker face on, and they're not going to let you know what they're really doing. But the whole time I saw John Thune on his phone doing this in a phone call. And so I would speculate he was probably in touch with J.D. Vance's office, or perhaps J.D. Vance himself. After all, they knew each other. They served in the Senate together, letting J.D. Vance know whether he was going to be needed or not to come down and do a tiebreaker. So I'm speculating that was what was going on that night, just from watching on the thing. What I wondered is, why did John Thune leave it up to Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Mitch McConnell to stick their neck out? He's the leader. Leaders lead. So he's got to know these appointments are crazy. So why didn't he do anything? That's been bugging me. And none of the rest of the senators were. None of the Republican senators are going to stand up to the silly nominees that Trump has sent over to the Senate. Of course, you might not think they're silly. I kind of do, and I think a lot of people do. So you don't need to tell me why these nominations are insane microaggressions against the Congress, right? They're pretty aggressive, and in tennis terms, they got a lot of topspin on them, so that things kind of go awry. So I wonder, who is running the Senate? Is it John Thune? And why are these senators kowtowing to Trump and acting like zombies who had their brains eaten? Really, that's kind of what I wonder. Are people really this stupid running our country? I mean, are they? Are they? Why are they approving these people and not grilling them like the Democrats are? Why are they leaving it all to the Democrats to do this? Do the Senate Republicans like these people? I mean, truly, in their heart of hearts, like these people and think they are the best that our country has to offer for these positions? Or are they truly scared of Trump, so scared that they would trash their own constitutional responsibilities and their responsibility to us, we Americans, and to their constituents just to make Trump happy? I mean, really, is that what this is all about? Are they scared of getting primaried? Does Trump threaten to sick the riches of Elon Musk to primary them? So are they kind of that shallow that they're just looking out for their own political futures and they don't want to get primaried by a more Trumpy Republican to risk everything? In other words, to even ask that question, you're saying they have no conscience, do they? And a lot of people think that's what it is. And I'm going to say probably that is what it is, because people can be disappointing sometimes. But is there a chance it's not? Is there a chance that there's something else at work here? I'm grasping because we're basically talking about the end of the Republican Party, right? You can't come back from this. You can't just completely fold on this with a straight face and still think we have some semblance of a party. Because if these people in the Senate are such weenies, they don't deserve to be there. All the Republicans in the Senate need to be voted out. We need to start fresh. Which leads us to something deeper. Is the Republican brand meaningful anymore? What does it even mean? Because the kind of things that they're saying are important now, they used to think were not important and they would criticize the Democrats for. So I don't know, but what I'm thinking is there another option here? Could there be something else at play? And the only thing I can think of mirrors the ideas, mirrors, meaning sort of copy or replicates the ideas that are in a really popular book that was just released by a lady named Mel Robbins. And the name of the book is, let me make sure I get this right, The Let Them Theory, a life-changing tool that millions of people can't stop talking about. And I've heard her podcast on the topic. Now, if you don't know who Mel Robbins is, she's a very, very popular lifestyle guru. And if you've never heard of this concept, which I'm going to go into in a minute about the let them theory, it's not that new, right? It's repackaged concepts that have been around, I would dare say, in therapy circles or 12-step programs for decades. What is it about? If someone wants to ruin themselves, you let them. If they don't want to come visit you, you let them. If they don't want to stop drinking or smoking, you let them. You don't try to stop them. If they're a friend but they never ask you to get together, you surrender to the fact and you let them. You let them do what they want and never contact you. So what's behind it all? What it is you stop making yourself crazy to try to control another autonomous human being. So how does that even apply here? Are John Thune and the rest of the Republican senators saying if somebody wants to appoint a bunch of unqualified people ahead of other people to top posts in the government and you're a U.S. Republican senator, you say, we let them? Irresponsible maybe, but is that what's happening? Are they thinking if we just let Trump do what he wants, he and the country will realize his ideas and plans just don't work? And then we can correct course after that. Is that what they're thinking? Let me tell you a little bit more about this book and let me know in the comments what you think about whether this could really be what's happening. I'm going to have to put on my glasses for this. Okay, here's the blurb about this book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. What if the key to happiness, success, and love was as simple as 2 words? If you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or frustrated with where you are, the problem isn't you. The problem is the power you give to other people. 2 simple words: let them, will set you free. Free from the opinions, drama, and judgments of others. Free from the exhausting cycle of trying to manage everything and everyone around you. The let them theory puts the power to create a life you love back in your hands, and this book will show you exactly how to do it. Okay, so that's some of it. And it talks about how to stop wasting your energy on what you can't control and start focusing on what truly matters: you, your happiness, your goals, your life. Okay, so could that be what's happening here? Could the Senate Republicans be saying, we have our own goals of what we're going to do, and we're just going to let Trump do this? All right. And we don't even know what the Senate's goals are yet. They're just kind of doing the agenda of Trump right now. So maybe they do have some legislation, actually Republican conservative oriented legislation, that they want to try to get through. Could be what's happening. So there could be something to this let them theory. This week, we saw the Trump, basically just let Trump do his thing. This week, we saw the Trump administration cease all government funding and cut off the Medicaid payment system. And the next day, all hell broke loose, right? I mean, it was all over the front pages, all over the news. And I think the White House got a lot of flack for that. So much flack, we may not even know how much flack. Only time will tell. But one thing I'm thinking is, supposedly these tariffs weren't maybe supposed to even come into effect until the beginning of March. But all of a sudden, today's Friday, and all of a sudden these tariffs are there to take over the front page news and to take over the blunders that Mr. Trump made when he was talking about the poor souls that were lost in the plane crash and in the Potomac River. I have no inside information about the U.S. senators or the majority leader. I'm hoping against hope that there is some reasoning for what is going on. What do you think? Let me know in the comments what you think of this idea. Is it preposterous? All right, that's the end of the week. I'm Tibbie. That's my American take, and you have a great weekend.